Kurwongbah.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Proud today to speak to this year's appropriation bill introduced by our Treasurer, the Honourable Cameron Dick. This has been my 6th year supporting a strong Labor budget, and what a year it's been. This bill follows the Appropriation Act we passed in September and is the next step in our plan to unite and recover across Queensland. I thank the Premier, Deputy Premier and Treasurer, returning and new ministers, and the hundreds of ministerial and departmental staff who've worked hard to deliver this piece of legislation so quickly after the election. Truly is a massive feat. And for those few detractors who kept peddling mistruths during the campaign, Queensland was the only state who hadn't delivered a budget. I just want to point out the only Australian state or territory to hand down a budget before our election was Western Australia, and our budget follows a week after Victoria's and 2 weeks after New South Wales. So thank you again to everyone involved in preparing this budget. We can now give businesses and consumers certainty about our plans, and with that, more confidence to make their own plans heading into 2021. COVID-19 knocked us all for a six this year, and its impacts extend to this budget. But, Speaker, just like many of us refinance our homes in tough times or to extend our assets or to make home improvements which add more value, our government will be targeting our spending to stimulate the economy and reap maximum benefits for Queenslanders through our state's recovery. And it's nothing new, Deputy Speaker, to say the health of Queenslanders remains one of our top priorities. This budget sees a further safeguarding of our health and strengthening of our health system to the tune of $21.8 billion. This includes the beginning of planning for our innovative new satellite hospitals. These hospitals will give many South East Queenslanders, including my constituents, more care options closer to home and, as a consequence, free up space in hospital emergency departments. And while we're talking about emergency departments, last financial year saw work start on the $400 million redevelopment at Caboolture Hospital. While Caboolture Hospital is in the neighbouring Morayfield electorate, and I know a source of great pride for my colleague, Honourable Mark Ryan MP, it's also the closest major hospital for many of my constituents, most notably the growing communities of Burpengary and Kurwongbah. So this redevelopment is great news for them, and by 2023 the project will deliver a new 5-storey clinical services building, 130 new beds, expanded health services and a multi-storey car park. There's also more funding in this budget for Redcliffe Hospital, which also services my constituency. This budget marks the start of our investment in hiring also an additional 5,800 nurses, 1,500 new doctors, an extra 475 paramedics and 1,700 new health professionals over the next 4 years. And $100 million over 3 years will be invested to employ 464 additional wellbeing professionals in Queensland state schools and to trial the placement of GPs in up to 20 schools. And in a matter close to my heart, $171 million has been committed for a Queensland Health palliative care strategy funding package through to 25-26, and I take the interjection from the member for Kurwongbah on that. Speaker, like all Labor budgets, this budget reflects our commitment to quality education in Queensland, with a record over $14 billion investment on the table. And I've heard lots of members in this place talk about the education benefits they're getting from this budget. This includes a commitment to employ more than 6,100 teachers and 1,100 teacher aides over the next 4 years, plus a $1.9 billion infrastructure spend, adding to our pipeline of jobs for tradies and ensuring every Queensland child has access to world-class education facilities. In my electorate alone, our commitment includes $700,000 for a new security fence at Petrie State School, and understand work will commence on that during these holidays, school holidays, that are coming up. Our first instalment in a whopping $8.3 million for a new admin block, bringing better disability access to Lawton State School, something I've been fighting alongside the school community to secure since I became their elected representative in 2017. Lawton State School is over 50 years old, and it really has needed some TLC. I'm so pleased to build on our delivery of a new hall with this awesome new funding news. The rollout of air conditioning and solar for all our state schools continues in this budget. I'm sure there are teachers and students out there this week wishing the air conditioning was already done, and luckily in some schools it is. For those still sweltering, hang in there. It'll happen over the next school year and a half. Families in Burpengary, on the border of my electorate, and the Bancroft electorate will also be pleased to see planning start for a new school in Burpengary East. I just want to give a shout out here also the fabulous work the team at Burpengary State School do In fact, their P&C has just taken out P&C of the Year awards for the second year running. It is. This budget also gets the ball rolling on a funding program that will deliver $50,000 for disability access at Kurwongbah State School and $200,000 for outdoor learning and general upgrades at Jinnaburra State School. Great commitments I was able to make during the election period. Speaker, the good news continues. For those who've finished school or are on vocational education journeys, there's more than $1 billion in 2021 Queensland State budget for training and skills initiatives. We're committed to preparing Queenslanders for the jobs of the future, and it's never been more important than now as we recovered from this global pandemic. As an electrician by trade, I know how important it is to fund a range of pathways to jobs. That's why I'm proud to say we're investing $21 million to extend the free TAFE and free apprenticeships to Queenslanders under 25, over $32 million over 2 years for the TAFE Priority Skills Fund, $25 million over 2 years for pre-apprenticeship support, $8 million over 2 years for Social Enterprise Jobs Fund, $5 million over 2 years for the First Nations Training Strategy, $5 million in 2021 for the Workforce Transition Support Program, $16.5 million for the establishment of Manufacturing Skills Queensland, and $100 million in TAFE facilities across the state. Labor's always believed in a strong TAFE system, and this budget reinforces that. I've also said this before, and I have to say it again today. In my electorate of Kurwongbah, there's infrastructure projects everywhere you look. Thanks to strong investment across the last 5 Labor budgets, the Launton Park and Ride is almost open. The long-awaited Petrie intersection upgrade project tender will soon be awarded. We've delivered safety improvements along Debra Road, including the Vors Road intersection at Whiteside. We'll soon finally have the new $41 million Dacabin station. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. In Burpengary, the works are full steam ahead on the Bruce Highway interchange at New Settlement Deception Bay Road, and I know my colleague, the member for Bancroft, is as excited as me about that. This is a project that locals have been waiting a long time to see, and I've also said this before, but it's worth putting on the record again. Because of the cuts in the Newman LNP government, cuts we're still recovering from, funding for this highway project was taken out of Q-Trip. So when federal members in the area described this project as overdue, I couldn't agree more. It took a state Labor government to finally fund the state component, with further funds included in this budget. We've also committed to upgrading the Burpengary train station, news that's made my constituents very happy. That's another very old station. I do thank the Minister for Transport for helping me to achieve this upgrade for local commuters. I look forward to seeing the planning work start on this soon. This budget also locks in funding for many of our Works for Queensland commitments and our Unite and Recover community stimulus package. In my area, we've scored well. We've got new amenities for the Kurwongbah Rangers Footy Club, an upgrade and extension to Ron Thomason Park in Lawton, and new tennis courts and a clubhouse at the Harris Avenue Sports Complex in Kurwongbah. Further, this budget provides the remainder of funding for new change rooms for the mighty Pine Rivers Bears. I know the club's really looking forward to seeing this project become a reality, and I also thank the Moreton Bay Regional Council for partnering with us there. These infrastructure projects are creating hundreds of jobs, putting money back into our local economy and helping us to unite and recover for Queensland. The Deputy Speaker has reviewed and approved my speech for incorporation, so I ask the remainder of my speech be incorporated into the record of proceedings.
Deputy Speaker.
I call the member for Springwood.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Leading up to the